Welcome to councillors, members of the public and staff. My name is Councillor Ed McDougall, Mayor of Bayside, and I declare this public forum open at 6 p.m. Everyone at the public forum is reminded to conduct themselves in a polite and professional manner, keep communication factual, use appropriate language and tone, do not use any defamatory or derogatory remarks. Defamation laws do apply. I also ask all councillors to observe the requirements under the Code of Meeting Practice and Meeting Etiquette. All present are reminded that the YouTube video recording is an official record of council and will be accessible via YouTube in accordance with the Code of Meeting Practice. No other recordings are permitted, and all present should ensure that there are no video recordings, audio recordings or photographs taken. In case of emergency, please follow the instructions of the council staff, exit via the Town Hall foyer and proceed to the evacuation point. With that being said, I'd like to open by acknowledging the Bidjigal clan, the traditional owners of the land on which we meet and work, and also acknowledge the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation. On behalf of Bayside Council, I pay my respects to their elders past, present and emerging. Does any councillor here this evening wish to make any disclosure of interest? Right, thank you, councillors. Members of the public who have applied to speak at the public forum tonight are now invited to address the council. Speakers are reminded that if matters has been raised by a previous speaker, there's no need to raise the matter during your address. Please only speak on additional matters. Members of the public that are registered to speak in person will be called forward and asked to proceed to the lectern. I'd remind all those present that no decisions are made at the public forum. Speakers attending in person have been advised on your allocated time to address the public forum. A warning bell will sound when only 1 minute of speaking time remains. Attending in person online will not be able to present material as part of their speaking time. Speakers are also reminded to keep communication factual, polite and professional, and to use appropriate language and tone. Do not use any defamatory or derogatory remarks. Defamation laws do apply to addresses in the public forum. If you register a written submission prior to the meeting, please note that these have already been distributed to the councillors. We have 4 speakers tonight, starting with item 13.7. Speaking for the motion, do we have Mr El Haj? Mr Barrington, Mr De Silva. Mr De Silva, please take the lectern.
Mayor, councillors, speaking in support of motion 13.7. I was at the protest on February the 9th. We all know that all the available evidence now points squarely at the police as the perpetrators of the violence that night. In the aftermath of that terrible event, we heard an orchestrated campaign of lies and misinformation from our state government and from the media. There was no violence from the protesters when the police effectively charged them. There was no provocation for the level of violence. It was not proportionate, it was not justified, and most likely it wasn't even legal. So I speak in support of this motion because this council must show its constituents that they do not support the brutalization of ordinary citizens by the police force. We must condemn the disproportionate and completely unnecessary use of force by the police that night. There is no justification for pepper spraying children in the face. There is no justification for causing serious injury to elderly persons. There is no justification for brutalizing people kneeling in prayer, and there's absolutely no justification for knowingly perpetrating violence on sitting members of the state parliament. The council must call on the highest office on the state, that of the Premier, to condemn every incidence of police violence that night and reaffirm our firm commitment to justice and democratic freedoms. Mayor McDougall, I was at the citizenship ceremony this Sunday just gone, the one that you officiated, and I was moved by your speech describing the sheer scale of cultural diversity that Bayside Council represents. We must celebrate what these diverse cultures and traditions can bring to this country, but always value and protect the democratic values and freedoms as they're the very foundations of this great country. Paraphrasing you, sir. This is an opportunity to demonstrate that commitment to democracy, to all the peoples of Bayside, and to show leadership in the face of this terrible and very avoidable event. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr De Silva. We have one speaker on item 13.8, Ms Jackie Angelovsky, who I see is here. And if the 2 other speakers show up, we'll move back to item 13.7. Ms Angelovsky.
Thank you, Mr Mayor, councillors. I do appreciate the opportunity to speak this evening. As you're aware now, my name is Jackie Angelovsky, and I am rising in strong support of this motion to undertake a feasibility study into a fully gated, zero-depth, inclusive splash park in Bayside, particularly on suitable grassed areas near the beach. For more than 2 years now, including during my 2023 campaign in Ward 5, local families have raised this issue with me repeatedly. The message has been simple and consistent. Bayside families want a free splash park close to home. Right now, they're travelling outside our LGA to access such facilities that have become thriving community hubs elsewhere. Councils across Sydney have recognised the value of safe and accessible water play, and our families are simply asking that we have the same here. I note that the agenda specifies Rockdale Town Centre as a priority location. However, this proposal is not simply about activating a town centre. It is about equitable access to safe, free, family-focused infrastructure. Parents have told me that they increasingly feel uneasy supervising toddlers at the beaches in our bay. The growing presence of jet skis and other personal watercraft, combined with unpredictable conditions, it creates real challenges. A fully gated, zero-depth splash park located on the grass near the beach would provide a safer, controlled environment, allowing younger children to enjoy water play, whilst remaining connected to the foreshore that their families already use, and all within close proximity and sight of their caregivers. Rockdale Town Centre has already received or is receiving substantial investment, including upgrades to the King Street Mall play space. Strengthening our foreshore parklands would instead build on the community's natural patterns. Families already gather on the grass by the bay. They picnic, they ride bikes, they celebrate. A splash park in that location would encourage longer stays, support the local waterfront businesses, and reinforce Bayside's identity as a coastal community. If this facility is to succeed, it must be practical, fully fenced, close to toilet amenities, shade, seating, pram access, near a kiosk or a cafe, and ideally adjacent to an existing council playground. Truly, Bayside's first free of charge, full service location for families. I note that a splash park would not complement, not duplicate the Angelo Anestes and Botany Aquatic Centres, which are paid entry facilities. A splash park, on the other hand, offers free, informal, everyday access. Our 2021 census data shows that Bayside has over 11,000 families with young children. This isn't a small cohort, it is a significant portion of our community. I respectfully ask that Council support this motion, undertake the feasibility study, assess suitable grass sites near the beach, and report back with detailed costings and, most importantly, funding options, including Section 7.11 developer contributions, state grants, and, of course, stage delivery. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms Angelovski. Are we joined by Mr El Haj or Mr Barrington? Mr El Haj?
Yep, it's me. Bismillah. 3 minutes, is it? Bismillah, in the name of Allah I begin. And I'd speak to support the motion by Councillor Strong regarding the brutality that is to be condemned that we faced on the 9th of February. The targets in particular of that evening were the vulnerable. I was just at a rally here in Kogarah by constituents like me who opposed what was done to us. We had a 69-year-old woman speak to us from her bed in the rehab hospital here, within this, not far from here actually. She spoke about her vertebrae 4 broken by police. There is a video of her saying, I can't move after they pushed her to the ground. She has mobility issues. She posed no threat. In the video, the police continued to yell, get up! And after 2 or 3 times, they just grab her and pull her and throw her up. I was pushed to the ground. I almost got stampeded. My shoe was, I think, stepped on by one of the police potentially. It came off. They wouldn't let me pick it up. It's got my orthotics, so I can't get it. They wouldn't let me. I said, just let me take off my other shoes so I can gain balance. They said, no. They actually just said, you have balance, and shoved me again. I was marshaled in the night. They sprayed me. My keffiyeh provided some protection, and my glasses to some extent. Others had bones broken. Others were terrorised and assaulted. We saw videos of this online. And we saw the worshippers, the Muslim worshippers on the floor in prostration being attacked. This is not representative of our society. I do not care if there are multiple ALP members on this council. This behaviour is unacceptable. I am glad that Asha Ambihabaha took the step the next day to put out a statement against this violence and brutality. And I urge the councillors here to show a little bit of courage. Does that mean 1 minute left?
1 minute, yeah.
Great. I just want to say it's not new. I mean, a few years ago, the violence and the hatred and Islamophobia has been growing, and it concerns me. My local mosque was recently invaded by Chris Minns, Edward, and Steve Camper, along with the Jewish Board of Deputies. The secretary of that mosque has told me he did not consent. He told me that it was enforced upon him by a person who they negotiated with, who's not a member of particularly the community. He's portrayed as representing the community, but we don't know who he is. I don't know who he is. The secretary was afraid to raise this. The imam has resigned. I no longer pray in my mosque that I was praying on for 6 years because I don't know why this has happened. That is problematic. It is problematic. And it's also problematic that in 2024, when Shoot All Muslims was plastered in certain areas, I emailed Edward the image and I got no response. And then it was plastered here in Monterey and I lodged a hate crime unit complaint. This Premier is not fit to govern. This Premier is not fit to be a representative of the constituents. He does not represent us and it's not in our name. That's what I urge you to think about if this is in your name. If it was your sister, and it was predominantly women who were attacked. It was the women at the back of the rows who were praying, who were attacked first. It was 3 women that I know who have broken bones. I know men who were attacked, but women were attacked and it was sanctioned. It didn't just happen overnight. And if we're sincere about calling out violence, we call out violence anywhere. And in no training should it be permissible to do what was done to these women. They did nothing, or to these men, or to these children. So I call it out.
Thank you, Mr. El-Haj. Do we have Mr. Barrington here? No. Okay. Thank you. There being no further speakers to the public forum, I declare the public forum closed at 6:12 p.m. The council meeting will commence at 7 p.m. Thank you. Welcome to councillors, members of the public and staff. My name is Councillor Ed McDougall, Mayor of Bayside, and I declare this meeting of Bayside Council open at 7:02 p.m. Councillors and those present in the chamber are reminded to conduct themselves in a polite and professional manner, keep communication factual, use appropriate language and tone. Council meetings are live streamed and recorded via YouTube. Please therefore treat everyone with dignity, respect, and do not use any defamatory or derogatory remarks. Councillors are reminded of obligations to conduct yourselves in a professional and respectful manner under the obligations of Council Code of Meeting Practice in the interest of good governance and to adhere to meeting etiquette. All present are reminded that the YouTube video recording is an official record of Council and will be accessible via YouTube in accordance with the Code of Meeting Practice. No other recordings are permitted, and all present should ensure there are no video recordings, audio recordings or photographs taken. In case of emergency, please follow the instructions of the Council staff, exit via the Town Hall foyer and proceed to the evacuation point. With that being said, I'd like to begin by acknowledging the Bidjigal clan and also acknowledge the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation, the traditional owners of the land on which we meet and work. On behalf of Bayside Council, I pay my respects to their elders past, present and emerging. I now invite Pastor Andrew Harper of Bay City Church, Arncliffe, to open our meeting in prayer. Pastor Harper.
God, we just pause as we come to the end of this summer season. God, we just pray for our community at large, for our city, Sydney, and our suburb of Bayside, God. We just pray for continued harmony, God. God, we just speak peace and understanding over our community. We'll continue to do that. And God, we just pray that we would learn from the mistakes and we would learn, God, from the tragedy, and not let these things happen in the future. And God, we lift up this community, God. We just pray for a greater harmony, a greater desire to work together for the cause and the common cause of those in our community. We will today, as always, God, lift up those that are just not doing well in this season through this crisis of cost of living. God, we just pray for those communities. We lift them up to you, God, and we pray for all the services that support them. We thank you for them. We thank you for their volunteers and for their heart to serve this community. And God, I pray right now for our council. I pray for our mayor and our councillors, God, that you would protect them and cover them with your grace as they lead this community forward in your mighty name. Amen.
Thank you, Pastor Harper. I haven't received any condolence motions. Does any councillor have any condolences to put forward tonight? No, thank you, councillors. We have two certificates to present this evening. Firstly, to Mr Gary Mawson, who I'm very pleased to take the opportunity to present an award for his distinguished service as President of the Ramsgate Rockdale RSL sub-branch. Gary has shown outstanding dedication and integrity in his leadership of the sub-branch and his commitment to supporting veterans, their families and the wider community. While Gary's term as President, I understand, will conclude later this year, the impact of his service will be incredibly long-lasting, reflected in the strength of community connection that he's helped foster and the respect he's earned from those he serves alongside. And I just say personally, leading the merger of the Rockdale and Ramsgate sub-branches, these are often tricky things, and I think that's gone off absolutely flawlessly. And in large part, it's thanks to Gary's leadership. So on behalf of Bayside Council and the community, I'd like to thank you, Gary, for your service, your leadership and your continued contribution, and I extend you all of our very best wishes for the future. I'd now like to invite Gary forward to accept this certificate from Council, and any councillors who would like to join us, please jump in for a photo. Gary.
Within a couple of days, I will step down from the presidency to let someone younger become the president, and I'll be the vice president. Hopefully. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you once again, Gary, and I'm sure your service, like everyone involved in volunteer organisations, is not going to end here. I'd next like to congratulate...
Mr Mayor?
I have a
Sorry,
comment?
Councillor Sarabanovsky, you'd like to say a few words?
Oh, no, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to thank yourself and the council staff for accepting my nomination for Gary Mawson. I'd like to start by reading out some names from the former James Cook Boys Tech High School alumni. Dr. Zoran Pecharovsky, Honourable Shaket Masumani, Honourable Steve Camper, the beloved Emeritus Mayor Bill Sarabanovsky, and there seems to be a name missing there, and that's Gary Mawson. It means a great deal that we as a council take the time to formally recognise individuals who quietly and consistently give so much to our community. Tonight is about one of those individuals. Gary Mawson is currently serving his final months, if not has served, as President of Ramsgate Rockdale RSL Sub-Branch, and a remarkable tenure it's been. Just bear with me. Gary's journey of service began when he joined the Ramsgate RSL Sub-Branch on the 31st of July 2007. From that day forward, he didn't just become a member, he became an active contributor and leader. On 1st of December 2021, stepped into the role of Sydney Metropolitan District Council Delegate, March 2013, elected Treasurer, and then on the 13th of March 2016 was elected President, a role he's carried with integrity, strength and good humour ever since. But during his presidency, Gary oversaw one of the most significant milestones in the sub-branch's history, the amalgamation of the Rockdale sub-branch with Ramsgate. That process required leadership and diplomacy and a steady hand. The result is strong and unified Ramsgate Rockdale RSL sub-branch we see today. And Gary didn't stop there. In March 12th of 2018, he was elected District Council Treasurer, and on the 20th of February 2020 was elected District Council President, all while serving as the President of the amalgamated sub-branch. He now looks ahead to the 2026 with the hope of serving another 3-year term that speaks volumes about his commitment and the confidence others have in him. Even as Gary prepares to step down from the presidency at the upcoming AGM, Gary has made it clear that he intends to remain on the community to mentor his successors. That is true leadership, that is ensuring continuity, supporting the next generation and placing the organisation above personal title. As President and representative of the RSL, Gary has attended countless school, Anzac Day services, presentation day assemblies, including his own former school, San Susie Public School, and his high school, James Cook Boys Technology High. There is something powerful about returning to where your own journey began, standing before students and passing on the values of service, remembrance and community. We also thank Gary for his national service. This year marks the 75th anniversary of the national service in Australia, an important milestone in our nation's history. Gary answered that call, and we thank him sincerely for his contribution and sacrifice. Service clearly runs in the Mawson family. Gary's father was one of the founders who established the original RSL sub-branch, setting up a little nimble hut on the beach. And that was founded as an institution that supported veterans for generations. And I have no doubt that his father would be incredibly proud to see how far Gary has made, continued and strengthened that legacy, considering your father was treasurer of it as well, I believe. And I'd like to quote the supporting words from Sally Ann Faulkner of the President's Society Group. On behalf of the board, management and over 20,000 members of Ramsgate RSL Memorial Club, we congratulate Gary Mawson on his long-serving commitment to veterans in our community and the dedicated time and energy in improving lives of veterans in the Bayside area via Ramsgate Rockdale RSL sub-branch. Gary has also worked alongside other veterans in the RSL district role and has proudly upheld his father's legacy within the sub-branch and our Memorial Club. We join with our community in thanking Gary for his diligence, resolve for our veterans. Those words, diligence and resolve, describe Gary perfectly. But beyond the titles, beyond the meetings and the formalities, Gary is also something equally as important. I'm sure many of you have met Gary. He's a good old jolly bloke. And that's the kind of person who brings warmth to the room, who understands that camaraderie is the heart of the RSL, and who knows that sometimes a shared laugh is just valuable as a formal motion. Leadership is not only about governance, it is about people, and Gary has always understood that. I'd like to thank the Mayor and the staff actually accepting my request to write to the newly amalgamated Bayside High School. As the RSL sub-branch enters a new era, so does the high school. So it's a fitting touch to consider Gary to be included part of the alumni, as others in similar capacity like himself have been recognised and attended every end-of-year awards and local events at James Cook Boys Technology High School for a number of years I'm aware of. So although he doesn't have to be there, he still makes the time and the effort to attend his old stomping grounds and see the future generation prospering into the young adults they are and they become. So Gary has always supported the school and shows the type of character he is. And Gary, I hope I still see you there at the Bayside High School, because, you know, if you're not there, I'll be very lonely. So on behalf of Council and the broader community, thank you for your national service. Thank you for 2 decades of dedicated volunteer leadership. Thank you for guiding the amalgamated, secured future of the sub-branch. Thank you for mentoring others and ensuring the RSL remains strong. Thank you for honouring your father's legacy while building your very own. And thank you for being the kind of man we are proud to call a community leader and a friend. Your presidency may be coming to an end, but your contribution most certainly is not. Thank you very much, Gary.
Thank you, Councillor Saravinovsky. Any further speakers? No, thank you. Our next and final certificate of recognition presentation this evening is for one of Bayside Council's own, Dr. Hong Nguyen, to congratulate him on his recent Big Idea Generator submission. I'm not sure anyone who's following the Big Ideas, the Committee of Sydney's forum, but Dr. Nguyen's proposal outlined how Greater Sydney's 260,000 streetlights could be transformed into smart renewable energy hubs by integrating small renewable generators into existing street lighting poles. This approach has the potential to generate clean energy, support EV charging, enhance community resilience during extreme weather, and also help Sydney meet its net zero emission goals. The concept leverages existing infrastructure and offers a scalable, future-focused solution that responds directly to the city's growing energy demands. It really represents an outstanding accolade and positions Dr. Nguyen as one of the thought leaders in this area across Sydney. So we're very proud to have him at Council. His contribution highlights Council's dedication to environmental leadership and actionable solutions to climate change, and I extend my congratulations on behalf of the Council to Dr. Nguyen on this noteworthy achievement, and would like to invite him up to receive a certificate. And councillors, if you'd like to join, please jump up for a photo. I don't think staff for the speeches. The 50-year service. Thank you, councillors. Any councillors wish to speak? Councillor Naji.
Yeah, look, I'm just going to be so brief. I've watched Mr. Hong. He's an asset to this council, and I want to congratulate him and keep up the good work. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Naji. Anything further? All right, congratulations again, Dr. Nguyen. Moving on to apologies, leave of absence and attendance via audio-visual link. I believe Councillor Awada will be joining the meeting later, and we have 2 leave of absences from Councillor Brederhoft and Councillor Boudelet. Do I have a mover or a seconder to accept the leave of absence requests? Councillor Boudelet and Brederhoft both requesting leave of absences just for this meeting of Council. Moved Councillor Naji, seconded Councillor Curry. All those in favour, all those against, declare that carried. There are no councillors seeking to join via audio-visual link. Councillors, does any councillor wish to make a disclosure of interest? Councillor, I'll go around the room. Councillor Curry, Councillor Morrissey, Councillor Bezic.
13.7. My niece is an active police officer who's involved in that area of policing and may be involved on the day as well. so I won't be non-significant non-pecuniary interest.
You.
Non-significant, significant non-pecuniary interest. So I won't be participating in the debate.
Okay. Councillor Strong. Councillor Kasim. Councillor Saravinovsky.
Yeah, on CS2 6.003, Bicentennial Park East, non-significant, non-pecuniary. On the basis I played for the club for one season over 5 years ago. I don't hold any board positions or committee positions, and I'll leave the chamber when the matter's discussed, if or pulled out.
Councillor Saravinovsky. Councillor Naji.
Yeah, thank you, Mr Mayor. On CPE 26.003, the proposed planning proposal to permit restaurants and cafes. It's non-pecuniary, non-significant. I have a footway permit with the Bayside Council, noting that this is about RE1 public recreation zone of Bayside. So I will remain in the chamber. Thank you.
Councillor Naji. Councillor Dusku. Councillor Barlow. Councillor Poulos.
Yes. CPE 26.002. I have a significant non-pecuniary interest on the basis that the inclusion of item number 3, which is outside the original scope of the master plan, impacts relatives who live in this area, and I will be leaving the chamber.
Thank you, Councillor Poulos. Councillor Douglas. And myself, nothing. And just noting, Councillor Kasim declared a less than significant non-pecuniary interest in CS2 6.002 at the committee on the basis that she owns an electric vehicle, but it would remain for the meeting for consideration and voting on the matter, so I assume that carries over. Thank you. Minutes of the previous meeting, do I have a mover and a seconder? Moved Councillor Naji, seconded Councillor Dusku. All those in favour, all those against, declare that carried. Minutes of the extraordinary meeting of 10 December 2025. I have a mover and a seconder. Moved Councillor Naji, seconded Councillor Dusku. All those in favour, all those against, declare that carried. And the minutes of the extraordinary council meeting 4 February 2026. Do I have a mover and a seconder? Moved Councillor Barlow, seconded Councillor Naji. All those in favour, all those against, declare that carried. And just finally, minutes of the extraordinary council meeting 18 February 2026. Moved Councillor Naji, seconded Councillor Barlow. All those in favour, all those against, declare that carried. Sorry, I've lost myself in the agenda. There is one mayoral minute tonight, councillors. I believe it's circulated, and I won't go on, but Bayside Council has 5 applications to this year's New South Wales Local Government Awards, as well as preparing a submission for the AR Blewett Memorial Award, recognising council's work across a range of areas. For Project Planet, the Diwali Festival, Be Better for Bayside Customer Experience, as well as our Creative Industries Forum. And I think it just shows how varied the work we're doing as a council is, and how that work is currently in the process of being recognised across the industry. Councillors, any further discussion? Councillor Naji.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I just want to congratulate not only the staff on their professionalism and dedication and the results that we do get, but I want to also congratulate the directors and the GM. It's great, and it's an honour to be part of this Bayside Council, especially when you hear that you're getting awards after awards after awards, and keep up the good work. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Naji. Any further discussion? Councillor Saravinovsky.
Yeah, I just wanted to briefly acknowledge Council for those 5 applications, and that's something we should all be proud of. And I'm immensely proud of it myself, because I did storm into the GM's office over a year ago asking, why haven't we nominated for any of this stuff? So it's really good to see that now the recognition's out there, and I'm advised the last time Rockdale won the Blewett Award was in 1951, 76 years ago, for creating a swimming enclosures and new civic infrastructure that opened new areas to community to swim. So it was forward-thinking leadership at the time. We absolutely have forward-thinking leadership currently. And of course, if there's costs associated with submitting applications, but even if we don't win, there is value. We look at the winners, we understand why they succeeded, and we improve ourselves. So striving for excellence matters, and putting ourselves forward matters, and well done to all the staff involved, and let's keep continuing aiming high for Bayside.
you, Councillor Saravinovsky. Further discussion? All those in favour, all those against, declare that carried. And once again, congratulations to our staff on all their incredible work in these areas. We now proceed to deal with the remainder of the business paper on the items on the business paper by exception, noting that items where a division is required for planning matters, the notice of motion, items where councillors have declared a pecuniary and or significant interest or wish to speak on a matter will be dealt with individually. I'd also note the memo circulated to councillors in relation to item CP 26.001, Norfolk Island Pine Trees, Cooks Parking and the Grand Parade, where an additional recommendation has been put forward for consideration by council, that council approves the removal and replacement of 3 additional Norfolk Island pines, being the trees numbered 482, 537 and 546, which has been assessed as dead or severely decayed, and in all cases the structural integrity of the tree is compromised. Councillors, are there any other items you wish to pull out and deal with individually? Councillor Curry.
I assume that, sorry, I missed it, 11.1.
Yeah, so items that need input will be pulled out.
That's it.
Councillor Morrissey.
No.
Councillor Bezic.
No.
Councillor Strong. Councillor Kasim. Councillor Saravinovsky. Councillor Naji.
Yeah, thank you, Mr Mayor. BLTF 26.012, Wollongong Road, Arncliffe. That's in the Traffic Committee, thanks.
Sorry, 012.
BLTF 0.012. Thank you.
Councillor Naji. Councillor Dusku. Councillor Barlow.
BLTF 26005.
You, Councillor Poulos.
Mine's in one of the confidential reports, so it might be need to pull that in confidential, but it's ARIC 25.090.
Sorry, 010?
090.
09. Sorry, thank you. Councillor Douglas.
11.6, please, and 12.2 CWA 26.002.
Gajaka Park skateboard. Yep. Thank you. Councillors, anything further? Right. We have a mover and a seconder for the rest of the items being dealt with by exception. Moved Councillor Naji, seconded Councillor Morrissey. All those in favour, all those against, declare that carried. We now move to item 11.1, LG NSW annual conference attendance. Moved Councillor Curry, seconded Councillor Morrissey. I believe we're seeking 9 nominees to attend as delegates to the annual conference. Anybody like to put themselves forward on the night? Councillor Curry, Councillor Morrissey, Councillor Strong, Councillor Saravinovsky, Councillor Naji, Councillor Barlow, Councillor Bezic, Councillor Kasim. How many are we up to? 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I think potentially we have more than 9 then. Did you? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8. Councillor Poulos or Councillor Douglas? All right. Well, and Councillor Awada makes 9. So we have nominations from Councillor Awada, Councillor Dusku, Councillor Naji, Councillor Kasim, Councillor Strong, Councillor Bezic, Councillor Morrissey and Councillor Curry. Does that add up? Great. All those in favour? All those against? Sorry, Councillor Curry.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Can we book accommodation now so that...
We have booked it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I
Wonderful.
believe this has already been actioned. Any further discussion, councillors? All those in favour, all those against, declare that carried. Sorry, 11.2 is actually the councillor attendance report. I don't think we need to pull that out unless anyone would like to discuss it. I think maybe that was pulled out by exception though in the discussion. So do we have a mover and a seconder for item 11.2, councillor attendance report from Councillor Brederhoft and Councillor Kasim to the local government conference, Australian Local Government Women's Association conference? Moved Councillor Kasim, seconded Councillor Naji. Is there any discussion, councillors? All those in favour, all those against, declare that carried. Item 11.6, progress report on councillor notice of motion, February 2026. Moved Councillor Douglas, and for the minutes, welcome Councillor Awada. Do I have a seconder? Seconded Councillor Barlow. Councillor Douglas.
I pulled this out because some of the council staff received a flurry of emails from me last night asking for more information in regards to some of the items that were about to be archived. And I subsequently spoke to the mayor about it and felt that some of that information actually needed to be shared with the whole council. I did get some responses overnight, thank you very much, which did explain why some of those items are being archived, but as they were formally put by the whole council, I do feel that that information should be shared with the whole council. So the suggestion is to change the officer's recommendation with those updates on the notice of motion so that before any items are archived, those items relevant to the relevant subcommittee come before the subcommittee to have a review, so that there's a place for any questions and discussion from the councillors before items are archived from the notices of motion. I hope that eloquently enough explains the intention of pulling this out.
So I think the idea would be that when notices of motion are proposed to be closed off in this report, and they're often raised by councillors, that they have a quick report back to committee on why they're being closed off and the progress that is being made. So as a standing item on committee agendas. Any further discussion or comment? It seems pretty reasonable, and there's often questions about these in council meetings.
Even if it's in the papers.
Yeah. I mean, like anything else, we can receive a report if the committee wants to. All those in favour, councillors? All those against? Declare that carried. Item CPE 26.002, update on Bridal Sands and Bay Street Master Plan. Councillor Poulos is absenting herself. Councillors, do I have a mover and a seconder? Moved Councillor Douglas, seconded Councillor Strong. Any discussion, councillors? All those in favour, all those against, declare that carried. If we can invite Councillor Poulos back into the room.
Mr Mayor, could you just explain that by exception to the residents who are waiting for
So
CPE
all items that have not been pulled out on the business paper have already been adopted by council, so the decision as printed on the business paper has been adopted as a decision of the council.
So that's gone to the heritage, it's gone through.
Correct.
normal.
I think Councillor Barlow is trying to say that the item relating to 116 Villiers Street has passed through the council meeting
That's
already.
been approved.
What, sorry? On that, no we don't. It doesn't say we need a division. Do you think we need a division? It's not a. It's trying to say that the Bay Street Master Plan is a division.
Oh, Bay Street Master Plan.
I think.
No.
No, it's not actually a planning
It's not
decision.
actually a planning.
It's a strategic decision.
No.
This next one is though item CPE 26.003, proposed planning proposal to permit restaurants and cafes in RE1 public recreation zones of Bayside LEP 2021. Do I have a mover and a seconder? Moved Councillor Morrissey, seconded Councillor Kassim. Any speakers, councillors? No, this is the cafes in parks.
So 004.
CPE 26.003. Not City Works and Assets Committee.
CPE.
Yeah.
Yeah, this one. CPE.
Again, any discussion, councillors?
Councillor Nagy called it out.
We have to, it's a division, it needs to be voted on anyway. The item is by way of division. Councillor Curry. Councillor Morrissey. Councillor Bezic.
We're not up here.
I think it'll be unanimous. Councillor Strong. Councillor Kassim. Councillor Savranovsky. Councillor Nagy. Councillor Dusku. Councillor Awada. Councillor Barlow. Councillor Poulos. Councillor Douglas. And myself for declare it carried unanimously. Item CWA 26.002, engagement outcomes for Gajaga Park skate bowl lighting. Moved Councillor Douglas, seconded Councillor Morrissey. Councillor Douglas.
Just a quick one, since the committee, on the committee, I did ask for the curfew to be extended, and we agreed on 9:30, but since then, the General Manager has come back and said that 9:45 would be appropriate, given that that's when the sporting clubs have their notice to leave, and then they also have additional 15 minutes to pack up as well. So to make it in line with the Ador Avenue sporting facility next door, I was proposing that we change that cut-off time to 9:45.
Any further discussion, councillors? So an amendment to the report to 9:45. It's fairly self-explanatory. Any further discussion? No. All those in favour? All those against? Declare that carried. Item CS 26.003, Bicentennial Park East Sport Fields. Do I have a mover and a seconder? Move Councillor Discu, seconded.
No, I want to talk to it.
All right, well, we need a mover and a seconder first. Move Councillor Awada, seconded. Councillor Douglas. Do we have any speakers?
Yes.
Councillor Awada or Councillor Douglas first as the mover and seconder. Councillor Discu.
Thank you. I have a few questions. Number one, in relation to the golf driving range, what services were rendered to just...
This isn't the golf range. But Bicentennial Park East Sports Fields.
26.00. Oh, I wanted to talk about... Okay.
Would you like to recommit item CWA 26.003, which would need to be discussed in confidential session?
Oh, it's in confidential. Oh, okay. Right. We'll talk about it later then. Yeah.
Well, we'll still need to put... Okay, let's deal with this item first. Any discussion relating to this item, councillors? All those in favour, all those against, declare that carried. We have a procedural motion in the name of Councillor Discu and Councillor Naji to recommit item CWA 26.003 for consideration. And I imagine the questions you're asking, Councillor Discu, would need to be discussed in confidential session, so I'm sure we can deal with it at the same time as the ARIC report. Item BLTF 26.005, 8485. Oh, sorry, I've been noted that, we don't need to recommit that. It's just a new recommendation. It was still adopted, and it was noted beforehand.
Have we adopted the new recommendation?
It was noted before the thing. Apologies. Item BLTF 26.005, 485 Forest Road, Bexley, Ramadan Festival Road temporary off-street car park closure. Do I have a mover and a seconder? Move Councillor Douglas, seconded Councillor Discu. Is there any discussion? Councillor Barlow.
Just a comment, the minutes have to be changed to the traffic committee or to the traffic committee, because at the traffic committee on the Wednesday, we approved Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Then I had a very lengthy email from a resident, and Friday, Saturday, Sunday to 1 a.m, which I found offensive. And so the minutes of the traffic committee, to give them permission, have to be changed to Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And I'm very concerned that we as Ward Council, I don't know the other two, I was not notified about it. I found about it when I was on the traffic forum, and none of the residents were notified. And so I feel that if this happens again, and it's 3 weekends, that at least the area should be consulted, because the residents are quite concerned, and I'm not sure. They've had rain and everything, so, but it was more the fact that you've got to change the minutes to make it correct, and also that if they're going to have it, it should have been, the ward councillors should have been notified or consulted at least, because I think last year we were, and our Ramadan festival finishes at 11:30. So this is right next to residents, and it's finishing at 1 a.m. So to me, we should have been consulted.
You, Councillor Barlow. Any further discussion? All those in favour, all those against, declare that carried. Item BLTF 26.012, Wollongong Road, Arncliffe, proposed resident parking scheme. Mover and a seconder. Moved Councillor Naji, seconded Councillor Bezic.
Because I was away, I just need to know what was the background and what's it all about and what's the recommendation there. Yep, okay.
We have a report from the officers. Mr Barber.
Through you, Mr Mayor, we had a number of requests from residents to extend the resident parking scheme in that area. They find it difficult to get curbside parking. There's a high demand in that area. We did some surveys and confirmed that it was difficult in that area, and so the recommendation there is to extend the resident parking scheme for a short distance in front of the residents who asked to be included in the scheme. So they'll be eligible for permits if they don't have off-street parking.
Mr Barber. Councillor Naji.
Is there a specific area? Does it include Kelsey Street? Because a lot of shopping in the area there, the shops are being very affected. So I'm just wondering, are we recommending some sort of a 2P or 1P parking plus the residential parking scheme?
Through you, Mr Mayor, the request was for the properties between 18 and 34 Wollongong Road, so they're residential properties, I believe. And the proposal is a 2P there unless you have a resident parking permit, so it doesn't include Kelsey Street. It was really in response to some residents who wrote in and asking for it, so that's what we looked at.
Thank you, Councillor Naji.
Thank you, Mr Barber. Look, it's a great idea, great initiative, but if we could send it back so the council could look at that whole bit, stretch the area a bit more into Kelsey Street and Wollongong Road to assist some of the business to stay afloat and, you know, with the economy the way it's going. I know it's second ward, but you don't have to be a genius to know that there's a major parking problem. So if we could just send it back and let the staff look at it, see if we can extend it to Kelsey Street and between maybe not as far as Rowe Avenue, but just halfway where the shops are, all the way to Down Street, including that short strip of Kelsey Street up to the roundabout. That would be great. That will help the residents and the shopkeepers there. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Naji. Any further discussions?
Can I just make a
Councillor
comment
Barlow.
that the motion as it is approved with an addition that a further report comes forward for the area that Councillor Naji is mentioning, but that first bit maybe is approved as it is.
Councillor Naji is proposing that it all be considered together as the mover of the item, but Councillor Naji?
I don't have a problem either way, as long as it's considered again by the traffic committee and the planning department. So, yeah, either way or the way it is. I mean, it's not going to take so long, is it, Mr Barber? It's through you, Mr Mayor, to the Director of City Futures. If we send it back, I'm sure they can come back to an answer for us by next council meeting.
So I think then the motion is to adopt the resident parking scheme, but to come back next month with a reconsideration of the extension of the resident parking scheme
Like I said,
area.
I don't have a problem with that. Thank you.
Councillors, any further discussion? All those in favour, all those against, declare that carried. Moving to notice of motion, item 13.1, Robinson Street Safe Cycleway Connection. Moved Councillor Douglas. Do I have a seconder? Seconded Councillor Strong. Any discussion, councillors? Councillor Douglas.
I feel that we haven't really celebrated the M6 active transport corridor enough. I have found it completely life-changing. I use it most days. And I love seeing all the people who are using it. There's a local mum who's often on the gym equipment while her baby sleeps beside her in the pram while she works out. There's parents on cargo bikes taking their kids to multiple different schools. It's just such a great asset. But what this motion asks is for us to make the most of that asset. So currently it sort of pops you out at Monterey onto Shooter Avenue, and there's no actual safe linkage back to the Bay cycleway and shared path. So this motion is quite simple. It asks the council to plan for and consider a safe cycleway connection between those two amazing active transport corridors that we have, the M6 active transport corridor and the cycleway and shared path along the Lady Robinson Beach. Thank you.
You, Councillor Douglas. Councillor Naji.
Thank you, Mayor. There's no doubt the M6 active transport stub hub is great and it's beneficial to the community. I just have 3 questions for the General Manager or Mr Barber. I'll go through one by one, get a response, and if not sure of the response, I'm sure it can get back to us. So, Mr Mayor, the 3 questions. 1, given the M6 active transport is a state-led project, what is our current standing with Transport for New South Wales to ensure they go fund this last mile connection? Obviously, we have a problem with funding. So,
Through the chair, the next round of grants that we would apply for would be the Get Active grants. I believe that there's a round that will be due towards the end of this year. There isn't funding currently for that project, but we would certainly we'd do some in-house design work, and then we'd apply for a Get Active grant to allow us to do the construction.
Thank you. Thank you, GM. That leads to question number two, which is before you do designs and things like that. So how will the investigation balance the all ages and abilities goal, point 3B, with the existing on-street parking requirements of Robinson Street residents? And that is very important. We need to consult with the residents of Robinson Street, because they will lose some parking, by the way.
Through the chair, that would be part of the concept design work that we would undertake. We are fortunate in that that's quite a wide road. So we do some concept design, and we would consult on potentially some angle parking in Robinson Street to counteract the space that would be required for the bike route. But we'd come back to you, obviously, with the options once we've done a little bit of in-house work to see what your preference is before we go to consultation.
Thank you. So I get that we will be talking to the residents in Robinson Street before it goes any further. Is that correct?
Through the chair, once we have a concept or some options, we'd come back to you and then talk to the residents, yes.
That's great. Number three, sorry it's taken
Councillor
a bit
Naji.
long. The intersection at the Grand Parade is notoriously busy. We've seen serious accidents there and death, sadly. Will the GM consult with Transport for New South Wales for a dedicated bicycle lantern or signal face to ensure families aren't stranded in the middle of a 6-lane road?
Through the chair, my comment indicated that the signalised intersections were some distance from the end of Robinson Street. When we've had a closer look this afternoon, there is a pedestrian it's a pedestrian signalised crossing not that far from the end of Robinson Street. So we believe that there is a way that we could get people across safely. We might need to do a little bit of work at the end of Robinson Street just to make sure that people would understand where exactly they need to go. As you say, getting across 6 lanes of traffic safely is a priority, but I'm sure when we come back with the concept design, we can show how that would work.
Thank you. No further.
Councillor Naji. Councillor Disco.
So my question is, have we looked at the financial impact of this project? Has it been budgeted for? And is it part of a capital works program?
General Manager.
Through the chair. So the first stage will be done in-house. So we are, I think, in talking to the director, we've finished a number of projects at the end of this financial year, and we'll have capacity to do some design work in-house from the 1st of July. So that we will absorb, obviously, within our normal budget for staff time. And as I said earlier, the actual works required, at this point a budget hasn't been identified, but it would appear that once we do that work, we've got a reasonably good opportunity to apply for grant funding through the Get Active Grants program.
Thank you, councillors. Any further discussion? No. All those in favour, all those against, declare that carried. Item 13.2, enhancing transparency in communication and heritage communication. Moved Councillor Douglas. Do I have a seconder? Seconded Councillor Kassim. Councillor Douglas.
Thank you. I'll take the floor on behalf of Councillor Brederhoff to actually put this motion together and in support of her work. So this motion has a simple aspiration for our council, and that's being clearer and fairer on communication about how this council values heritage. and in the process as we prepare our new overdue heritage strategy. Beautiful heritage homes are part of the flavour of Bayside. By protecting our old grand heritage homes, we are not undervaluing housing supply. We know our city must grow, but that growth must be balanced with protecting embodied assets, having respect for the materials and the craft that have been invested in our heritage homes and in their stories. In 100 years' time, people will look back at this period of rapid change and ask whether we built well and whether we protected what mattered. Recent history has shown us that when heritage processes are not clearly explained, community concern rises. Confusion leads to distrust. As we prepare a new heritage strategy, this is our opportunity to move forward differently. With transport-oriented developments reforming and reshaping planning controls across Sydney, property owners face real and immediate decisions about whether to develop, sell or invest. Heritage status, or even the prospect of it, materially affects those decisions. So this motion asks for two things. It asks for plain English information on our website explaining the development of the heritage strategy, whether properties are going to be under review and how heritage processes work under New South Wales legislation, and what tools like an interim heritage order actually are and how they may lawfully be used. It also asks us to review how we communicate heritage matters through the 10.7 certificates and to look at best practice from other councils. In the notes, the General Manager proposes adding notations on the 10.7 certificates for properties identified in the 1991 Heritage Study. Councillor Brederhoff believes, and I speak on her behalf tonight, that if we limit communication to just that 1991 list, we risk doing so at exactly doing what we did at Villiers Street, which is leaving people in the dark until it's too late, or we risk losing some of our identity, anchors and sense of place for a thriving Bayside. So this is not about expanding heritage protections overnight. It is about transparency and clarity across Bayside, about Council's priority that we have a Bayside-wide heritage strategy underway. If we communicate clearly, we hope that we can reduce fear, shock, confusion and blame. If we act consistently, we can rebuild trust with our community. If we work together, we can strengthen our credibility as a council. So this asks that we move forward as a council and learn from recent experiences and work to do things better.
Thank you, Councillor Douglas. Councillor Dusku.
Could you please confirm that this motion doesn't contravene the Environmental Planning and Assessment Act?
Councillor, sorry, Mr. Barber, I'm sure can answer that question.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So in terms of planning certificates, there are two types. The first type is one that can only contain information that's required in the regulations, and this information would not be in that category. The second type is at council's discretion in terms of what's included in there. So we can put in things in there that are more advisory, not just the things that are sort of in statute. I guess it would depend ultimately on what the notation said. I guess our concern was that if it applied, say, to every property in Bayside, some sort of a caution about heritage, it would appear on certificates for new apartment buildings that are being sold, for example, and people would probably find that confusing. So it really depends in the end on exactly what the substance of the notification is. I guess one test is it would have to make sense to the person who receives the certificate that it applied to their property.
So is it already covered by the Act?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, the requirement at the moment is to list properties that are listed as heritage items in the LEP or within a heritage conservation area. They're the required notations. Anything other than that is at council's discretion.
Thank you, Mr. Barber. Councillor Dusku. Councillor Naji.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I understand the intent of Councillor Brederhoff and Councillor Douglas about the issues about heritage. But just through you, Mr. Mayor, just asking the GM, we all know, all my colleagues, that there is a heritage process that we are going to go through in March. Is that right?
Correct.
And today's date is the 25th of February. And I'm sure most councillors around this chamber are very intelligent and very smart how to deal with the heritage in the near future. So, Mr. Mayor, I have a request. I believe this motion is premature until Council finalises the heritage assessment, which is due in March, which will outline how Council's strategy is going to deal with heritage report. That is the smartest thing to do. That is the smartest way. So in the motion, it articulates focusing on that 10.7, planning certificate for properties. Are we able to defer this motion till then, Mr Mayor? It's only a few weeks to go. Because I can tell you right now, I have some ideas, maybe no one is going to agree with it, but I think it's perfect how we can deal with that 10.7. Simple, and to ensure that we don't have an issue like we had with 116 Villiers Street. So the question is, can we not wait until March? And I'm sorry to say, or is this the stock standard marketing strategy of a councillor, knowing this is happening in March so they can grandstand on Bayside Community Facebook again? I think the most sensible thing to do is defer it. Let's see the outline, the strategy outline and everything in March, and sure, have an input. Councillor Brederhoff, Councillor Douglas, Councillor Kasim, Councillor Curry, Councillor, we all talk about experience. I think that's the most logic thing to do, Mr Mayor. The most sensible thing to do. So if it's not going to be deferred, I'd like to move an amendment to defer it till the March thing, strategy, the heritage assessment strategy.
Councillor Douglas, I think there's a question for you there.
I have more of a question through the chair to the General Manager. Like, my understanding with these processes is while it might come to council in March, we very rarely tie a bow or anything around anything quickly. Things go back and forth. I don't really know what we're coming to council with for committee in March and what will be presented. Is it going to be shovel-ready? Might be the wrong metaphor for this moment, but is it a shovel-ready strategy, or will there be predicted some back and forth in the development of the strategy?
General Manager.
Through the chair, I'm sure there'll be a number of goes before we land on a place where we get this right. What we will bring back to you next month will be our preferred approach and process. We can certainly incorporate how we promote the messaging around heritage to the community at that time. That can be looked at as part of the process, and it will give the staff a chance to really look at a different approach to what they had thought of to date. Our thinking hadn't really progressed beyond how do we deal with the properties that we might do in that first tranche of heritage assessment. So it would certainly, I think, work for us to bring something back to you next month, which is more process-driven, I acknowledge, but we could incorporate this into that discussion.
Councillor Douglas.
Sorry, I've just got a clarification. Oh, it's all right.
Councillor Douglas, then Councillor Nagy.
I mean, if I'm giving my response, I've been contacted about so many different heritage homes over the last few months where the community is just extremely concerned about the rapid removal of heritage in our Bayside area. And we've been through the emotional turmoil that Villiers Street has created for that family, but for the community at large and for this council at large. So anything we can do at this moment in time to prevent that kind of thing recurring again, I would really appreciate the council looking forward. This is not about political point scoring. This is not about dragging other people down on social media or Bayside community, as Councillor Nagy suggested. This is about us setting the rudder forward to a place where we are clear with our community that we've heard them, that we are going to change in increments. We might not be changing massively overnight, but we are hearing them and changing increments as we move forward to protect this beautiful area that we have so much diversity in people and in architecture.
I think...
sorry, Councillor Nagy was had a
Ladies
clarifying question.
first, it's all right, I'll wait.
Councillor Disco.
I think the matter is in hand with the council, and I think we should just wait and not waste too much other time.
Councillor Nagy.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Look, I am really, really concerned because I've had so many, and I appreciate Councillor Douglas had some worried about heritage. We are all worried about heritage, but the most sensible thing, and the GM, sorry to put you on the spot, I'll ask you a question a bit further on, but the intent of me deferring it till the March, because the most sensible thing is we come in March, we have the heritage assessment, the strategy plan. I have all the confidence in the staff. Why are we not going to have the confidence all of a sudden and want to act and add things on as you hop around? I could start bringing notice of motions next meeting and the following meeting and add things about heritage or whatever, but that's not the right way of doing it. Any experienced councillor, and the GM, sorry to put you, isn't it much more effective if we defer this so we can see what the strategy outline, discuss it? Yeah, it might take once or twice going back and forward, but let's get it right. Let's get it right. Instead of just adding here, adding there, it's not right. And everyone can have an input, everyone, including you, Mr. Mayor, the councillors, the directors, give their opinion, and let's come up with a great strategy, a great assessment, a heritage assessment, and let's bring it forward to the community. And I'm sure that's the right thing to do. Thank you.
Can I perhaps, in good faith, as councillor, suggest a way forward here? The motion effectively asks for us to set up a landing page on the website which explains our heritage policies, etc., and also to consider whether there is any information that could be usefully included in our section 10.7 certificates lawfully, as the director has stated. I'm sure our officers would not do anything unlawful. Perhaps that could be reported back as part of the heritage report. I mean, it's going to take several weeks for this to be put together regardless, so perhaps it could be considered next month, and that work could be done now for consideration by council in the coming month, as a suggestion.
Yeah, I was just a bit surprised that this was here when the heritage strategy is coming in March. But having been here for quite a while and see how destructive some of the people in the chamber over the years have been, and I mean literally, they virtually, I think there was 3 people at one stage out of 15 that would support heritage, and it started in 1991 only because the state government said we had to do a heritage strategy. We did it, they threw it out. They threw it out in 95. We decided, I think it was the late Ron Rathbone, who everyone respects, said we'll do it in sections. So we did pre-1900 and then we did 1900 to 1920, and we slowly got some of the properties out of the Cass and Walker study listed, but it was a very, very slow process. But the council before, or the council right through, said if you didn't want your property on the list, you didn't have to have it there. Whether it didn't matter how significant it was, they took it off. And that's the whole problem has been, hopefully, the communication has got so much better, but the problem is there's people going around saying, oh, that house is heritage. The only person can list it as heritage, quote me if I'm wrong, is that it has to be assessed by a qualified person. Not just Joe Bloggs down the road saying, oh, I like that house. We've lost Joe Nash's house. We should never have lost that house with the history that was attached to it, but maybe can have a blue plaque there. But it doesn't matter how many people say that house is heritage, that one should be. Council would then have to find a heritage advisor to do what they did with 116 Villiers Street, and it's a very detailed process. So I think when we've got the Cass and Walker study, the qualified people have done that, and I think I'm really looking forward to the heritage strategy coming next month, and I feel that's the best way to go, so we all know what's happening, and hopefully we're going to go forward with the love of our heritage buildings that it's taken 30 years to do. More than that, 1991. I wasn't on council then.
Yeah. Councillor Kassim, I think, jumped up earlier.
I was just rising to indicate similar points, so I'll leave at this point. Thank you.
Councillor Strong, I think. and then-
I'm just saying, like, post Villiers, I think there is a bit of urgency here, and I see this motion as a bit of preparation and homework. I think it'll assist the heritage strategy in March. You know, looking at the council notes, the heritage strategy acknowledges the importance of transparency, recognises it. It's more like, let's get the ball rolling, so come the heritage strategy in March, we'll be better equipped to really make it happen and cement it well.
Thank you, Councillor Strong. Councillor Naji, just quickly.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Look, I'd like to put that amendment to defer this till the March.
Well, I think we have a foreshadowed motion for you to defer this.
Okay, yep, and that is judging body language from the GM. I think it's the most common sense logic, unless you just... No, seriously, jokes aside, Mr Mayor, jokes aside, Mr Mayor, I think it is the most sensible thing. Let's get it right. Let's have that heritage assessment, and all of this could be included, and so on. Thank you.
So I think when I was speaking earlier, I think Councillor Douglas was nodding along that maybe this work could be done and not adopted, but can be considered at that coming meeting, which I feel as though I think it achieves the exact same outcome, that we don't adopt anything until we can consider this as a whole, but quite sensibly get a website ready effectively.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. You're very diplomatic. That's why you're a good politician. You're right. If it doesn't get adopted, the same thing as deferring it, so I don't have a problem either way. Thank you.
We're all happy with that. So effectively, it would be asking the General Manager to prepare an update to Council's website to include blah, 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 in place of item 4 for consideration and adoption next month. And that I don't think it changes item 5 at all, except asking for a report back.
So just so I hear this, so the motion will still be put as point 4 to be an immediate action and point 5 to be considered in the March meeting. Is that what I'm hearing?
I think it's point 4, rather than the website going up, they'll prepare the assets for Council's consideration for it as part of next month's strategy.
Okay.
Which I imagine will take a little bit of time for us to get a clear, plain English communication about this ready regardless, and I'd suggest that it would be useful for councillors to look at that before it goes up anyway.
Okay, so what I'm hearing is that this will be bundled into the work in March, but doesn't need to be put as a separate motion this evening. Is that what I'm hearing?
Well, I think we're adopting that work will be done.
Yeah.
So that we can consider it going live next
So
month.
we're still putting the motion at this stage. Look, I just want to thank the council for the goodwill of coming to solutions together. I think we all want to move forward collectively for a better Bayside.
Thank you. All those in favour, all those against, declare that carried. Item 13.3, investigation into the feasibility of exposing and restoring the original facade of Mascot Town Hall. Moved Councillor Morrissey, seconded Councillor Curry. Councillor Morrissey.
We've just talked about heritage and motions about heritage, Councillor Naji, and maybe everyone bring this is about some existing heritage behind the facade. So I'm pleased with the General Manager's comments that some work has already been undertaken. I suppose this is just formalising that. Anyone who has seen it, and I think most, if not all of you, will have seen some original archival photos of the Mascot Town Hall. And some brilliant people made some decisions to put bricks over the front of it. So this really just seeks, we've got the Mascot Master Plan coming, and that, if this is successful in its investigation, that there are some features remaining, whether it's in whole or in part, that will really be the showpiece as people are coming from the City of Sydney into Mascot or into Bayside through Mascot. So I trust that we get some support on this one. Thank you.
Councillor Disco.
I just have a question. Has it been budgeted in the capital works program?
Yes. Thank you. Councillors, any further discussion? Councillor Naji.
No, I just want to congratulate Councillor Morrissey and Curry for bringing this forward. Knowing for years from the last term and the term before, I think it really needs some work to be done at Mascot and enhance the appearance. Thank you.
Thank you. And hopefully we don't uncover loose-fill asbestos when we're doing invasive work. All those in favour, all those against, declare that carried. Item 13.4, planning controls for new data centres in the Bayside LGA. Moved Councillor Bezic, seconded Councillor Strong. Councillor Bezic.
Yeah, so most data centres are actually approved by state significant development and really bypasses council and local stakeholder consultation. There is a big centre that just got approved just before Christmas at Duke Street, and the council did have some concerns about that. But you know, really, it's really out of our hands. We just really want to have a position from the council saying that we really want more local influence in this. They use a lot of power. They use a lot of water. They can be quite bulky and noisy, and sometimes, you know, affect the streetscape and the livability of the residential areas close to those centres. So the point is writing to the state government to say that we want to have a more of a DA process for this, as opposed to a state significant process, particularly for the smaller data centres. And also, they could be clear on the thresholds that they, in terms of assessing a state significant development, and guidelines on how they can address the water usage and the electricity. And also, basically, I'd just like to add one point to it, just point 5, I think, point 4, just point 5, that we also write to the New South Wales Metropolitan Council's outlining our above position. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, Councillor Bezic, further discussion? Councillor Douglas.
Councillor Bezic, I have a couple of suggestions for amendments for this, which, you know, take it or leave it. But I would like to suggest that we include a point that says that councils be eligible for voluntary planning agreements as part of the implementation of data centres, because I have, and that's the end of that amendment, and there's a reason for that, so I can go into that shortly, but it's basically because in the City of Sydney there's been a state significant data centre put in and there was no benefit to the community. So that's the first amendment proposed, which is councils be given a voluntary planning agreement benefit from a data centre. And the second one is that to ascertain the impact on our energy grid and planning, that the council requests that the Australian Energy Regulator and Ausgrid provide publicly the local area energy spatial mapping. And that's a very specific point. It's because there's actually a limited amount of power supply in an area. So what I have happening on my street right now is a lot of works to get power up to the new development up at Arncliffe. They're having to dig everything up and amend the whole energy system. So we actually do need, as a council, to better understand if we're going to have a big energy suck, what is that going to do to the rest of our planning?
I haven't got a problem with that second one. The first one, I just want to ask the planning director, if it's a state significant development, is there a VPA pathway that we can pursue with respect to that?
Through you, Mr Mayor. Planning agreements are voluntary, so that's the first hurdle, I guess, is that an applicant has to propose one. You're correct in that state significant development, you know, pretty much bypasses council in terms of the assessment process. We do have a chance to have input as a stakeholder, so we do get consulted. So through that channel, we can ask the state government and the proponent to consider a planning agreement that provides community benefit, but we can't insist. So we can request, but yeah, that's the strength of it.
Well, I'm happy to include those then.
You, councillors, further discussion? Councillor Morrissey.
So, it's quite, I suppose that the development application and state significant is quite technical. So maybe from Mr Barber's question, it seems the main one here for us is number 2. The other 1 and 3 are really just advocating and writing, and that's it. But number 2, is that doable, and what is the process that would be followed? Because to say that seek specific planning controls, can you just put some context around?
Through Mr Mayor, so state significant development applications are lodged with the Department of Planning and assessed by them, and then determined either by a delegate of the Minister for Planning or by a state planning panel. They do take into account council's planning controls in our LEP and DCP, so we can put those controls in there. Whether they abide by them strictly or not is a matter for them during the assessment process. We do have general controls in our LEP and DCP around industrial buildings, so we need to have a look at what we might want to add to cover data centres in particular. So it is within council's control to do that, and then the state government will have to consider how they apply those when the DAs come into them.
Yeah, Mr Barber. Any further discussions? I I'm not inclined to, I understand where people are coming from on this. I'm not inclined to support this motion because I think it's the level of investment related to data centres is absolutely enormous, and I think it's quite worrying if we're trying to stand in the way of that degree of investment that is really trying to be encouraged at the moment. I mean, the Duke Street data centre that Councillor Bezic referred to, I think is a $1.2 billion build. And I'd ask, I think that's a long way above any development. What's the largest CIV development that we'd actually assess as a DA? If I can ask Mr. Barber.
Mr Mayor, I'd have to take that on notice, but that's certainly at the very upper end of what we would see.
Does it have is it more than $1 billion?
Concept plans for things like Cook's Cove will be up in that that sort of range of cost.
Will be that will be a state significant development approval.
The concept plan will be, yeah. Some of the smaller DAs will come to council, but the big ones will be.
Your team would not assess anything of that scale. So,
and that's why they become state significant. Yeah. So the value of them is.
I think there's a genuine question about the capacity of council to assess applications of that quantum, which I think is part of the reason that they're considered by state significant. And obviously, $1 billion investment is, it's a lot of money. And these things, they might not have a lot of ongoing jobs, but I think that's that productivity question. It's actually a huge ratio of capital to labour. So, I respect where councillors are coming from, but I'm just putting forward my position that I won't be supporting it. Councillors, is there any further discussion? All right. All those in favour? All those against? No. Division. Councillor Curry.
I can just make a point. I think it's just around, there's a lot of work to be done in planning around assessing DAs, and I just feel like something this large, Councillor Bezic is probably putting a lot of pressure unnecessarily on council, particularly when there is estate planning and they have their processes and their criteria in order to do this. So for that reason, I can't support it, sorry.
Councillor Morrissey. Councillor Bezic. Councillor Strong. Councillor Kassim.
If I could also say, I have similar reasons to Councillor Curry, but what I do think is useful is the advocacy part on all of those matters, and also on the matter of employment, local employment. So to actually put forward to the state government in considering these things, to make sure that all those matters are taken into consideration. So, if it could be split out, I would definitely support advocacy.
Yeah, is that an against or a for? Or
that's an against.
Councillor Sabranovsky. Against. Councillor Naji. For. Councillor Padusku. Councillor Awada. Councillor Barlow.
Make the comment that...
Sure, we have lots of comments during division.
We're
running quick, otherwise.
It's before, but the fact is that the government has taken so much away from councils, and the control that they have now on so much stuff is incredible, and that's the bit that worries me, is the fact of what I've seen over the years and what the state government, both sides, have taken away from where the local people, we're the ones on our feet on the ground, we know exactly our area, and that's the bit that concerns me, is that we are losing total control of our area in quite a few ways.
Yeah. While we're debating the comment, I would reiterate that I don't think that's actually, while the points you raise are valid, they're not actually, I don't think they're actually valid relating to this. Councils have never assessed DAs at this scale. Councillor Poulos. Well, you said for? Sure. Councillor Poulos. Councillor Douglas. And myself against, declare it carried. Notice of motion 13.5, ensuring timely delivery of the linear park fence dog park to respond to community expectations. Second. There we go. Move Councillor Curry, seconded Councillor Morrissey. Do we have any speakers? Councillor Curry.
Can I speak on the motion?
Yeah, but after the mover and seconder.
I'm speaking on behalf of Councillor Boudelet, the person that put the motion.
Sure, but he's not here and there's a mover and a seconder, so you'll get to speak after the mover and a seconder.
Thank you. It's good to see that the work has been progressing. I mean, it's something that in the last term of council was strongly advocated for by former Councillor Joe Jansen, and I know that the community take a particular interest in this. So noting that there's been a number of issues in relation to the land and so forth, but just want to commend council on working through those challenges, and I think that the community are going to be really happy to finally have this space there, and so too just want to acknowledge the ongoing support who's carried on that work. Councillor Boudele's put up the motion, but to recognise that council has been leading this work for some time, so it's good to see it come to fruition. Thank you.
Councillor Morrissey.
Thank you. I think just the main gap here, I'm absolutely supportive of the motion. It has been on foot for quite a long time. The gap, I think, just based on the feedback from the community, is actually advising the community what the updates are. So as simple as a couple of call flute signs on the fence at both entrance and exit. We've got the program and the timing condensed there. Thank you to the GM for doing that and the team. We just have to tell the community and let them know what's going on. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Morrissey. Councillor Disco.
Thank you. I rise to move this motion, notice of motion on behalf of Councillor Boudele to ensure the timely delivery of the approved fence-off-leash dog park at Linear Park Mascot. This project has already received council approval following strong community support and extensive consultation, yet residents, particularly those in our high-density areas, are increasingly frustrated by the delay between approval and on-ground works, which was first raised at council nearly 2 years ago. Delivering this park has huge community support. It will improve community wellbeing, support responsible pet ownership, reduce conflict in unfenced shared spaces, and deliver a great amenity where there is none currently. Through the motion, we are asking for a very brief report to the next council meeting outlining the current status, any outstanding dependencies, and clear options to expedite the delivery. In the words of dog owners in Mascot, there are hundreds of residents in Mascot who own dogs of varying shapes and sizes. For the Mascot precinct, most individuals live in high-rise apartment complexes and therefore have no space to exercise their dogs. There are many benefits of having an off-leash dog park, including the well-being of the dog-owning communities otherwise confined to apartment living, as well as the safety and happiness of dogs being able to play unhindered, together with the safety of road users and park users, as dogs play is confined to one area. Let's hope that this project can be fast-tracked and the dog owners in Mascot can enjoy a safe, off-leash area for their canine friends.
Thank you, Councillor Disco. Councillor Kassim.
Thank you. I'm sure we all love dogs. And I too have spoken to many people in Mascot who love dogs and are looking forward to this park happening. So absolutely, I know that the council has been doing its very best to do that. We have actually had a couple of goes in committee meetings on this, which are all public. So I think that the people of Mascot have been kept up to date via our committee meetings. Essentially, we do not own the land. The delays have not been because of any dragging of the chain from council in any way. And I too would like to rise to thank council for the council workers for the job they've done on actually quite complicated negotiations. With the landowner, there have been negotiations with the landowner. There've also been matters to do with the nature of the ground. So we want to make sure that it's safe for everyone, people, dogs, everybody. And in terms of the surface, which the nature of the material, So absolutely, we want this to happen as soon as possible, and I have every confidence that council is making it happen as soon as possible.
Councillor Kasim, any further discussion?
Councillor Boulay would like to understand if we can have a brief report at the next council about the status of the park.
Isn't that what the notice of motion asked for?
Can I just make a comment? That
Councillor Barlow.
the brief at the bottom of the report, there is the program. It is listed. And I believe we were here when we first started. The problem is the landowner. I've got a park in Isle Street, and guess what? We don't own the land. And Sydney Water took, I think, 18 months to reply to say we could use their land. Now, I was getting blamed because this lady has a German Shepherd and she wanted to take her dog specifically there. So the problem is most of it was the landowner, and I believe why have another brief report when you can just have program, detailed design underway? It's there in the General Manager's report.
Sure,
So I
it
see
will be
no
very easy
point.
for council officers to report back on progress. Councillors, any further discussion? Right of reply. All those in favour, all those against, declare that carried. Item 13.6, installation of speed camera on Bay Street. Moved Councillor Saravinovsky, seconded Councillor Naji. Councillor Saravinovsky.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to start with this is not a symbolic motion. It's not political theatre, and this is about public safety. Bay Street and the connection to Grand Parade have experienced persistent issues with excessive speeding, reckless driving and car hooning. These behaviours increase the risk of serious accidents, create noise disturbance and place pedestrians, families and local business patrons at risk. This is not speculation, this is history. Let me place on the record the incidents that have occurred in this precinct. 9th of December 2007, Hoon crackdown. Police seized 8 cars following a targeted Hoon operation where vehicles were caught doing burnouts and racing on the Grand Parade at Brighton Les Sands. 6 vehicles confiscated for burnout offences, 34 defect notices issued, 2 drivers charged with street racing speeding greater than 45 kilometres above the limit. That was nearly 2 decades ago. So the problem's not new, because November 2015, burnouts filmed on Bay Street. On the 10th of November, a Nissan vehicle was filmed performing burnouts along Bay Street, swerving between vehicles and endangering other road users. 9th of January 2016, the driver was fined $1,500 and barred for driving for a year. That endangered lives. August 2023, fatal street racing crash. In August 2023, the deadly incident occurred on the Grand Parade where 2 boys aged 9 and 10 died after a high-speed incident linked to the alleged street racing. Between 2018 and 2022, there were 64 crashes along this road where someone was injured, including 16 serious injuries, prompting new fixed speed cameras. And more recently, as you all would have seen on the news, 16th of December 2025, high-speed pursuit and crash, reportedly up to 160 kilometres before crashing into 3 vehicles at the intersection of Grand Parade, Bay Street, Brighton Les Sands. How much more evidence do we need? This motion calls for a fixed or mobile speed camera on Bay Street. Speed cameras are a state matter. This is why we must formally advocate, because enforcement works. Visible enforcement deters behaviour, and right now Bay Street needs a clear and permanent determinant. I also want to raise a serious question. There is signage indicating a camera on Trafalgar Street, yet there is no camera present. I would like to question, why is it there? If it is a deterrent, it's not working. It's outdated, if anything, and it needs to be reviewed. A community deserves transparency, and let me go one step further. Speed is not the only issue. It also is the exhaust noise that these vehicles and drivers deliberately rev, and the engine pops. The late night disturbances that wake children and elderly residents. On the 5th of December 2024, a noise-activated camera trial was launched at the intersection of Bay Street and Grand Parade. It was introduced as a joint effort from the New South Wales Police, the EPA, Transport for New South Wales and Bayside Council. But I'm advised that this camera is still in trial. Still in trial. What more data in spikes of decibels do you need to collect to enforce it? What more do you need? So I'd actually like to invite the decision makers to come down for 1 hour on a Friday night at Brighton Les Sands. Pick wherever you want to go, just 1 hour, that's all you need. Are we going to wait for another tragedy before acting? I don't think so. So the residents and the local businesses and the visitors of Brighton Les Sands have had enough. This is their last straw. This motion is not about targeting responsible drivers. I hear this argument, it'll only attack or target those drivers going 44 in a 40 zone. I mean, sorry to break it to you, that's still speeding. So follow the sign, you will not get fined. It is not about revenue raising. It is about residents who are working late at night, and we can see this on our online community resident groups. It is about local restaurants losing customers because families feel unsafe crossing the road. It is about young families wanting to enjoy dinner without fear. It's about pedestrians and cyclists who should not have to second guess their safety. I also want to acknowledge the overwhelming community support for this motion. To those watching live on YouTube right now, to those who voiced their support online, thank you. Your voices truly matter. And to those who may disagree with this solution, call it what you want. Name call me something I'm not. Funny enough, motion says otherwise. This is for the residents who live with this every weekend. This is for the businesses who bear the cost. This is for the community that has simply had enough. We have the history, we have the data, we have the incidents, we have the community backing. What we need now is action. Thank you.
Councillor Saranovsky, Councillor Naji.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I rise tonight to speak in strong support of this motion. I want to start by thanking Councillor Saranovsky for bringing this forward. Now, we all know the councillor has a, shall we say, profound appreciation for the internal combustion engine. In fact, some might say he knows the power to weight ratio of every car in the Bayside LGA by heart. So when a man with his particular expertise in brisk acceleration tells us that people are going too fast on Bay Street, we should probably take him very seriously. If he thinks the driving is a bit much, then we clearly have a real problem on our hands. Point 1 of this motion is vital. A speed camera is somewhat 24/7 deterrent. It provides the consistent enforcement that infrastructure alone cannot achieve. It's about making sure that Bay Street isn't treated like a qualifying lap for the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. Even if some of our colleagues might secretly admire a well-timed gear shift. But jokes aside, I want to highlight a very successful strategy used by our neighbours at Georges River Council. When they faced similar issues with hooning along Forest Road in Lugano, they didn't just wait for a camera, they took a proactive approach. By contacting the local area command, they secured a dedicated police presence for that corridor. The result was immediate. As soon as the highway patrol became regular sight, the heavy-footed enthusiasts, the kind of people Councillor Saranovsky might recognise from certain car meets, suddenly found a renewed interest in the 50 kilometre per hour.
Mr Mayor, point of order. I'd like the councillor to retract the untrue statements made or said about me.
I didn't say nothing.
The first part.
What's the statement? Sorry, Councillor Saranovsky.
Yeah, what statement?
Can you read it out?
No, what statement? Sorry. So we're talking about Georges River now, the 50 kilometre limit. The hooning slowed down because
what statement are you referring to, Councillor Saranovsky? Although I note that
if the council's okay with me reading it out, because can you please read it out again?
Mr Mayor, we're on live stream. He can replay and listen to it. I've gone past what I've said, so I don't know. He's got to tell me what offended him.
I think you do need to establish
want to be repeated or good.
Mr Mayor, you know the code of conduct. If someone says a point of order, he's got to tell you what's the point of order. He's not going to ask the person that was talking to speak again and say what he said. It's too long. It'll take too long.
Councillor
unless-
Nagy, given I'm sure you weren't intending to offend Councillor Saravinovsky.
No, honestly, I'm not
sure we can
offending
establish that
councillor. If
any
he let me
unintended
finish, he'll
offence
know
is not meant.
I'm
Is that
commending
reasonable?
him. The hooning slowed down at Georges River LGA, Forest Road, because the risk of a ticket outweighed the thrill of the exhaust note. I believe Bayside should mirror this success. While we advocate for the fixed camera mentioned in this motion, we must also pursue immediate relief. I urge the General Manager to follow the Georges River Council model, reach out to our local highway patrol and local command team to ensure Bay Street gets that same level of scrutiny. Data and safety assessments are important for long-term planning, but flashing blue lights are the only thing that truly discourages people with a lead foot. Let's get the camera, let's get the patrols, and let's make sure Bay Street is a place for families, not a drag strip. No matter how much some of us might enjoy a nice engine rev, I fully support this motion. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Disco.
Nice to see this motion being put forward by Councillor Saravinovsky, and quite timely, as over the weekend we had Operation Spoiler, which was a policing initiative conducted by New South Wales Police on Bay Street, which frequently targeted hoon behaviour, dangerous driving and vehicle compliance. So I stand to support the motion.
Thank you, Councillor Disco. Further discussion? Councillor Douglas. Sorry, Councillor Disco and Nagy, can you turn your microphone off, please? Thanks.
I also stand to support this motion by Councillor Saravinovsky, and I think it's pertinent that you've continued what your dad started when he was on council. I recall him sharing with me information about his advocacy for a speed camera on Bay Street and the frustration that the Transport for New South Wales had knocked back that application because they said there had not been a death or a fatality yet on Bay Street, which was shocking. Why would we wait for a fatality until we took action when we know that this is such a big issue? I would like to suggest an amendment, if the Councillor Saravinovsky is open to it, that point 4, that council writes to the Environmental Protection Authority and Minister Penny Sharp, plus the member for Rockdale, Steve Camper, and formally request an update on the noise camera trials in Bayside and Wollongong.
So support from Councillor Saravinovsky on that. So can we add that as point 4, please? Councillors, any further discussion? All right. All those in favour, all those against, declare that carried. Item 13.7, Defence of Democratic Rights, Social Cohesion and Freedom of Belief. Councillor Bezic is leaving the room.
Okay, so yeah,
you just need to wait until he leaves. Then move Councillor Strong.
Shall I wait till they come back?
What, sorry? Councillor Bezic is absenting himself.
Okay.
Councillor move Councillor Strong. Do we have a seconder?
I think Councillor Bezic did...
Councillor Bezic declared an interest. Yeah.
declared an interest.
Yeah, so he's leaving deliberately.
Well, yeah, this
move
motion...
Councillor Strong. We need a seconder. Seconded Councillor Douglas. Councillor Strong.
Yeah, this motion is about the events of the Town Hall on February 9th at the pro-Palestine protest there. I'd like to thank Wassim El Haj and Dushi De Silva for speaking in the public gallery at 6 o'clock. I presume their accounts will be on YouTube for people to watch. I've lived in Sydney for, next year will be 40 years, and I was down there on the night and I've never witnessed anything like it. It really was unprecedented and deeply troubling. I felt like I wasn't in Sydney, I was in Minneapolis, you know, with swarms of ICE agents around. The scenes that emerge in extensive video footage now in public domain have generated genuine concern across the community about proportionality, restraint and the protection of basic democratic freedoms. I'm not disputing police work can be challenging, but what we saw on Friday, the 9th of February, was unprofessional, it was vindictive and it was brutal. Many of the images and first-hand accounts from the evening depict out-of-control violent police operation, including the treatment of people who are attempting to leave the area, individuals who are not engaged in confrontation, and the groups engaged in peaceful religious observance. This motion is not anti-police. It is about questioning the police going far beyond reasonable force on this night. Many have witnessed this and it's been recorded. There are countless examples and well documented. A 76-year-old filmmaker, James Ricketson, was bashed, arrested and then let go without charges. New South Wales Greens MP Abigail Boyd was attacked and hospitalised far away from the police front line. 69-year-old John Alafani suffered 4 broken vertebrae, and we heard from the public forum about more details on that. Police attacked a group of people kneeling in prayer, a quiet, visibly peaceful moment amid the broader demonstration. This motion is pro-democracy, pro-civil liberties and pro-social cohesion, which is so important. The rights to peacefully protest, freedom of assembly are foundational principles of a pluralist society. We must push back against this Trump-style division and authoritarianism here that Chris Minns is enabling. When members of the public, observers or pro-groups are perceived to be subject to excessive force, this risks eroding trust not only in policing but in the fairness of public institutions more broadly. We have already seen civic leaders recognise the seriousness of these concerns. The City of Sydney, under Lord Mayor Clover Moore, moved quickly to affirm the importance of peaceful protest and civil liberties. As representatives of a diverse and multicultural community, Bayside Council also has a responsibility to speak clearly about the values that underpin social harmony and democratic participation. Regardless of one's political perspective, I believe most of us would agree that Sydney should strive to be a city where dissent, assembly and belief can be expressed without fear and where police practices are seen as proportionate and impartial. I encourage my fellow councillors tonight to support this motion. Doing so affirms our commitment to democratic freedoms, community trust and the all-important social cohesion. It signals that Bayside stands for respectful civil participation, peaceful coexistence and the protection of rights that belong to everyone, regardless of political view, background or belief. Thank you.
You, Councillor Strong. Further discussion?
Thank you.
Councillor Kassim.
Thank you very much, Councillor Strong. I too, I attempted to go to the same protest. I got as far as Town Hall Station and couldn't unfortunately proceed any further because of limitations on entry into the space. I did attempt to, for some time, to enter, and then basically gave up and went home. So unfortunately, I cannot say that I was an eyewitness to everything that happened. I have spoken to many people, friends and others who were there, and they were very alarmed. And I've spoken to other people who said that, that probably because of the melee, there was, there were some people might have been provoked. But certainly my concern is the long-term impact of this. I'm really, really glad that the New South Wales Police Commissioner has apologised to the Muslim community. I think that was essential. Obviously as a Muslim myself, the idea of interrupting prayer is very disturbing. And so I thank him for doing that. I thank him for apologising. That was a very important thing to do. What is also important to note, though, is that there is now a formal investigation which is underway. The LECC, which is the specialist body, it is the independent specialist body in this matter, is now undertaking a review of everything that happened. It's not being swept under the carpet because this body is known to only deal with matters of serious misconduct. And so investigation is underway, proper processes are underway, and I do thank the people who came and spoke and gave their harrowing stories. Those stories will be heard in that forum, as will all other sides. So I think that that is the proper, that's the proper process which is happening. What I think is important for council to do at this point is to look forward and to affirm principles. So I would encourage strong to consider actually focusing on your points 2 and 3, which are, to affirm that the rights to peaceful protest, freedom of assembly, freedom of belief and religious observance are fundamental democratic freedoms and essential pillars of social cohesion and multicultural society. Absolutely. And I think it's really important that we affirm that. And also, without prejudging what the LECC is going to say, recognise that any targeting or mistreatment of prayer groups and faith-based gatherings, regardless of belief, poses a serious threat to community harmony, mutual respect and public confidence in the impartial application of the law. I think that those two statements are really sufficient for council to make. And I think they are strong statements. I think they are statements of principle. And I think that they give an indication of what we want for the future.
Thank you, Councillor Kassim. Further discussion, councillors? Councillor Douglas.
I feel in support of Councillor Kassim's pulling out those aspects. I guess I feel slightly uncomfortable about a few things. I feel uncomfortable in two ways. I feel uncomfortable that Premier Minns did blame the people who walked across the bridge for peace in Palestine for the tragedy at Bondi, because I was one of those people who walked across the bridge for Palestine with my 10-year-old son, and we had been watching the horrific imagery coming through of starving children in Palestine. And we did that together. That was a joint decision, and that was his first big protest. And we did that because we believe in peace. And so I did feel really uncomfortable with Premier Minns blaming us for that tragedy, that violent tragedy at Bondi. But I also feel uncomfortable with the aspects of this motion as it stands because of that investigation that's underway. And I don't want to preempt that, and I don't want council to make, statements which I can't personally justify because I wasn't there. I haven't seen all the footage. I don't know what happened, and I think there are people who are more qualified than me who are going through that process. So I feel divided around this motion, quite genuinely, but I do feel like the safe thing to do would be to support points 2 and 3 for now and then defer the rest of the motion until the proper investigation fulfils its course.
You councillors, further discussion. Councillor Morrissey.
Yeah, I'm on the same page there as Councillor Douglas. I think there's too much in this because there's so many unknown facts and there's an investigation in front of us. I cannot stand here and say that council condemns the use of excessive force at that thing because that hasn't been proven. There's two sides. There's media, there's sensationalistic media out there. We don't know. There has been images, yes, but we don't know. That's why there's an investigation, so we can't preempt that. I'm comfortable with number 2 and 3 because I think that's fair and reasonable. We do want that rights to peaceful protest, recognise the targeting, progress, etc. Absolutely. There's too much else in there. So I won't be I can support this if it's just 2 and 3, but if it's unchanged, it's in entirety, I'll probably be abstaining from a vote because there's just too much conflicting information in there. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion, councillors?
Yeah, just responding to that. Yeah, and I understand, like, there is a study happening.
Sorry, Councillor Barlow. Sorry, if Councillor Barlow wants to speak, as precedence.
If the mover is the motion, is Councillor Kassim putting up a foreshadowed motion with just...
Well, I think we'll wait to establish during the debate whether Councillor Strong, for example, accepts the suggested change or that it will be dealt with, otherwise it will be dealt with by way of foreshadowed motion.
I think it's important that this matter was transmitted tonight, and I understand, there is a study happening, and I understand the legal principles in leaving out those particular accusations, and let's leave that to the study. I'm okay with 2 and 3. Is it possible to keep 6? Sure motion. Hang on. Yeah, well, I'm asking, but you guys are up to passing it or not. Just to ensure independent, transparent investigations to all reported incidents, including those involved.
I think, unfortunately, I would offer my point of view that given the context of the motion that's been put, I think they're very loaded statements. I think Councillor Kassim's proposal is very fair and reasonable.
Okay, well, just for the sake of it being noted, as the investigation continues and the motion not being lost, then I'm okay with that. Yeah.
So the question for you, Councillor Strong, is really based on what Councillor Sim has been put forward, is deleting points 1, 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8, and the motion being considered as only point 2 and 3.
Yes, yeah.
All right. So we're now just dealing with the formal points 2 and 3, which I presume are now points 1 and 2. That Council affirms the right to peaceful protest, freedom of assembly, freedom of belief and religious observance as are fundamental democratic freedoms and essential pillars of social cohesion in a multicultural society, and the Council recognises that the targeting or mistreatment of prayer groups and faith-based gatherings, regardless of belief, poses a serious threat to community harmony, mutual respect and public confidence in the impartial application of the law. Any further discussion, councillors? Right. All those in favour, all those against, declare that carried. Item 13.8, Children's Splash Park for Ward 4 and 5 residents. Sorry, can we call back Councillor Bezic, please? Councillor Disco.
Yep. Thank you, Mayor.
Sorry, do we have a seconder to the motion?
Second.
Item 13.8. Seconded, Councillor Naji.
Yep. Thank you, Mayor and colleagues. I rise to speak in support of this motion, which at its heart is about fairness, livability and meeting the everyday needs of families in our community. As councillors, we often speak about creating a Bayside that is healthy, inclusive and connected. Tonight, this motion gives us a practical opportunity to turn those words into action, particularly the families living in Ward 4 and 5 and surrounding suburbs. Across these wards, we have many young families and carers doing their best to keep their children active, engaged and safe, especially during increasingly hot summer months. Yet many of these families have limited access to free, age-appropriate water play facilities close to home. Not every family can easily get to the beach. Not every family can afford regular trips to pools and paid attractions. And for families with young children, children with a disability or limited transport options, those barriers are even greater. That's why this motion begins by simply acknowledging the reality many residents face and why that acknowledgement matters. Outdoor accessible recreational spaces are not nice to haves. They are essential community infrastructure. They support children's physical health, improve mental well-being and provide opportunities for social development through unstructured, imaginative play. Just as importantly, they bring families together, helping neighbours connect, carers build networks and communities grow stronger. Children's splash parks are a proven example of the kind of infrastructure. They are inclusive by design, supporting children of all abilities to play together safely. And they, as I've said, they offer low-cost, high-value recreation that is available to everyone regardless of income, especially during this affordability crisis that we're experiencing. They activate local parks, increase passive surveillance and encourage broader community use of open space. And they provide a practical alternative for families who may not feel comfortable or safe at beaches or pools, particularly with very young children. This motion does not propose building anything tomorrow. It does not commit council to a specific site, budget or design. What it does, quite reasonably, is support in principle merely an investigation, a feasibility study. An investigation grounded in evidence, an investigation informed by community need, an investigation that takes environmental sustainability, universal accessibility and long-term value seriously. That is exactly the role of good governance. By asking council officers to identify potential sites within existing Ramsgate, Parklands or other, the Brighton foreshore or in the Bexley Ward 4 areas, by exploring state and federal grant opportunities, we are demonstrating fiscal responsibility. By requiring meaningful community consultation, we are ensuring that any proposal reflects the voices of families, carers and local residents, not assumptions made just in this chamber. And by requesting a report outlining feasibility, indicative costs, risks and next steps, we're ensuring Council retains full oversight and transparency before any future decisions are made. Importantly, this motion is also about equity. Bayside is a diverse, multicultural and has access to high quality public infrastructure, should not depend on postcode. Residents in wards 4 and 5 and even Ward 3 deserve the same opportunities for safe, family-friendly recreation as residents in other parts of Bayside. When we invest in children, we invest in our future community. When we design spaces that are inclusive and accessible, we send a clear message about who belongs and that everyone belongs. This motion affirms our commitment to that principle. It says that families in Bayside, we hear you. We are willing to do the work to explore better outcomes.
Councillor Dusku, further discussion. Councillor Naji.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. To this motion, I support it. Plain and simple. I commend Councillor Dusku for putting forward this motion, as this can resonate to my family. Now, some of you may have seen my grandson during the council election campaign. He was probably the reason I got so many more votes. Jokes aside, my grandson has to go out of the area to enjoy splash park facilities, as there are limited facilities in our area. We prefer residents staying in the LGA when enjoying facilities like these. Keeping residents in our backyard means when they go to lunch or dinner or coffee, they are spending money locally, keeping the local economy strong. What Councillor Dusku has asked for is to look into a site, see if we can, all for the benefit of our community. And I strongly believe that's what this council is all about. In the past, this term and the past term and the term before that, is we always look for things to improve for our community. So I thank you, Councillor Dusku, for bringing this forward.
Thank you, Councillor Naji. Further discussion. Councillor Curry.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I think we all agree that, it's important to provide facilities, and Bayside Council has done a very good job over the years of providing a lot of community spaces and facilities and those sorts of things. And we're looking forward to the splash park that will be in our LGA within the next 18 or so months, which will be at our Botany Aquatic Centre. So, look, just in the, and appreciate the concept, but Councillor Dusku, just in relation to your point about good governance, I think it's important that we remember we've just had a strategy day. We need to manage our budget very carefully, and within that we've allocated projects that we're going to be doing over the coming years. And so it's really important that anything you put up, something has to go, because that money's been allocated. So although I appreciate the intent of it, I think we've got to consider these bigger projects, different to benches in parks or, small items. But this is quite a significant investment because of the design and the underground infrastructure that's required. So I'm going to suggest that, I know at committee next month we will be looking at those projects. Is that correct, GM? In April? Yes. Yeah, so that's...
The contributions plan is in March.
And the capital works program in April.
So my suggestion, Councillor Dusku, would be to wait for that opportunity in committee and then have a look. We got all when we were here for the extraordinary meeting, we got all the projects that are coming up, and I think we still have to start being very careful and being financially responsible and weighing up what, when, and then also thinking about the amazing master plan that we're creating here, and to the GM's comment in the report, the opportunity to put something like that in that design, which then caters for quite a large what will be a large residential population in this area. So just being fiscally responsible, that would be my suggestion to you, because I can't support a big project without, while we're going through this process. Thanks.
Sorry, I could suggest there's obviously, were you at the, were you there when we were discussing the contributions plan, Councillor Dusko? Yeah, so there's an upcoming opportunity to consider the allocation of, over $1 billion in capital over the next 15 years. So it's a perfect opportunity to include something like this. But I do agree with Councillor Curry that that's the next useful opportunity to consider this. It's a not insignificant allocation. That would just be a comment. Further discussion, Councillor Naji.
Yeah, thank you. Look, I understand what Councillor Curry is coming from. There's no doubt. Just for you, Mr. Mayor, how much did it cost us to do the Botany Swimming Centre, Botany Bay? Roughly. What's the cost? What did we allow?
$85 million.
Sorry?
$85 million and a bit of change.
I honestly got 10%
Point of order.
hearing.
I mean,
Councillor
Naji has already spoken. This isn't a right of reply. This is like
he's asking a question, but
Mr. Mayor, who's calling the shot?
Well, you were asking a question, but I think if you want to ask another question, you can, but perhaps keep your comments brief.
Well, all I want to clarify is we've gone through the same process as what Councillor Dusko is asking. We're not saying build it tomorrow. Just be fair. We're talking about the Botany Bay swimming. I supported that. I voted for it. And it doesn't matter how much it cost us.
So,
yes,
all right, I think we're venturing into argument. Sorry, this is Councillor Naji. I think that's no longer a question.
But
so
it wouldn't be a
resume the
bad idea,
debate.
something around Rockdale, Mr. Mayor. I did not kill it off. No, check the please.
I think that, sorry, can we, yes, please sit down, Councillor
Barlow
Naji.
wants to speak.
I just want to make...
Perhaps rather than further argument, if there's no agreement around this, perhaps is there a foreshadowed motion that this be deferred to consideration as part of the upcoming contributions plan process? Moved, Councillor Curry, seconded.
I said that.
And I just want to...
Councillor Barlow, sorry, can we stop the side conversation, Councillor Bezic and Mossop-Morrissey? Thank you.
So
Councillor
what's
Barlow.
the foreshadowed motion?
I think the
Just
foreshadowed
deferring
motion
it?
is to defer it until the contributions plan is considered.
Okay, well, I'll second that. Yeah.
All right.
But what I want to know, so when I read this, I was extremely surprised. I thought, oh, Ward 4, okay. What are we doing in Ward 5? Unless, I just went... Yeah, I know, and you got 7 kilometres of beach. I know the lady said that they worry about their children playing, but we do have netted areas, and children should learn to swim, not just run around in the water. But that was my surprise, that Ward 4 was... But Ward 5 was attached to it. That was... I went, oh... And then I recognised the girl's name that spoke. I thought, she ran in Ward 5. I remember now. So,
perhaps ad hominem comments about the public forum are unnecessary, Councillor Barlow.
My concern, I feel that the General Manager report was the responsible answer. And if it's $2 million, that's a lot of money, but it's a lot of extra underneath work. So I'm happy to defer it till further think, and I don't know why you'd want one in Ward 4 and Ward 5 if they're $2 million each. They're not in the budget. What's the financial impact? Even to ask for
I think it would require reallocation from another existing proposed project. So I'm sure councillors are capable of considering that.
But even to keep asking for further reports, the staff are snowed under with all the reports we keep asking for. So I feel I'm happy to just leave it and we'll look at it later.
Thank you, Councillor Barlow. Further discussion, Councillor Douglas.
I mean, I just want to say, like, I do support play and I do support the cooling and the health issues that this could activate a town centre. But I don't think it is fiscally responsible to have a splash park in Ward 5. As a Ward 5 councillor, the whole of Ward 5 is basically a splash park. There'd be very few people who can't walk to the beach in Ward 5 if you live in Ward 5. And I agree with Councillor Barlow that we actually have a crisis at the moment in Australia of people not learning to swim. We actually need to make sure our children are learning to swim. There was a great article in The Conversation about this just this week about the non-participation in swimming carnivals. In fact, lots of schools are actually stopping swimming carnivals altogether because kids are not learning to swim. So we do need to teach our children to swim. We have the Great Bay there in Ward 5. I would be more supportive of this when it goes to consideration if it was at Mascot or if it was at Rockdale, somewhere that's landlocked, somewhere with high rises, high density, where we want more amenity for our community.
Right.
Right to reply, Councillor Disco.
Sure. So in that spirit of landlock, we'll leave it to Ward 4. Thank you.
Okay. So we have a motion that I think is just removing Ward 5 from
Yeah.
Councillor Disco, and then a foreshadowed motion to defer this until the development contributions
Yeah.
plan, where it could be considered as against, all our other priorities. All those in favour of the motion as put.
I've just dropped the 5. Is that an issue?
I think the point is that Ward 3 was part of the General Manager's comments. Like, I think there's a broader conversation here about where the assets that we need to create in our community are, which we started at the council workshop. So I do agree with Councillor Curry's deference of the matter, because I think it is really important that we consider this as a whole of use, which is why we've got an open spaces and recreation plan in development.
Thank you, Councillor Douglas. Take this comment. All those in favour of Councillor Disco's motion? All those against? Division?
Well, can I
Councillor
not
Curry?
just defer it?
Well, that's what the foreshadowed motion is. So if it's lost, then there's a motion up to defer it. In favour of Councillor, we'll move faster if we just vote.
Spent like
Councillor
85
Curry,
million.
Councillor Morrissey, Councillor Bezic, Councillor Strong, Councillor Kasim, Councillor Naji, Councillor Disco,
For.
Councillor Iwata, Councillor Barlow, Councillor Poulos, Councillor Douglas, and myself against, declare the motion lost. The foreshadowed motion that the item be deferred until the development contributions plan capital works program is considered by council. All those in favour? All those against? Declare that carried. Item 13.9, noise camera for Forest Road. Moved Councillor Disco, seconded Councillor Douglas. Councillor Disco.
I rise to speak in support of this motion, which addresses an issue that residents along Forest Road, Bexley, have been raising consistently and for a long time: excessive traffic noise and its impact on daily life. Forest Road is a major arterial road. It carries a high volume of traffic at all hours, including heavy vehicles and semi-trailers operating day and night. For people living and working or attending school nearby, this is an occasional inconvenience. It is a constant presence. Residents regularly report noise from engine braking, heavy acceleration, exhaust systems, and vibration from large vehicles moving through the corridor, particularly overnight. This type of ongoing exposure has real consequences. It affects sleep quality, stress levels, health, and overall anonymity. Over time, it erodes people's sense of comfort and well-being in their own homes. Importantly, this motion recognises that traffic noise is not just about deliberately modified vehicles or antisocial behaviour, although those do exist. A significant part of the problem comes from the sheer frequency and scale of heavy vehicle movements, especially semi-trailers travelling through residential areas at all hours. These impacts are difficult to address through traditional enforcement alone. This is where noise detection camera technology offers a potential evidence-based tool. Around the world, and increasingly within Australia, and we saw in Ward 5, noise cameras are being trialled to identify vehicles that exceed permissible noise levels, deter non-compliant behaviour, and provide reliable data to support targeted enforcement and planning responses. This motion proposes that Council support in principle the investigation of a trial on Forest Road, particularly in locations where sustained noise impacts are most acute. I want to be clear, this motion does not presume outcomes. It does not commit Council to enforcement measures, fines or installations without due process. What it does is ask for a proper investigation done collaboratively and responsibly with Transport for New South Wales and the New South Wales Government. Crucially, the motion also requires community engagement. Residents who live with this noise every day should help shape the design objectives and expectations of any proposed trial. Their lived experience is essential in getting this right. Finally, the request for a report back to Council ensures transparency. It gives councillors the information we need on feasibility and regulatory considerations and cost. Supporting this motion means listening to residents, exploring modern tools and taking a measured, evidence-based approach to a persistent local problem. I encourage my fellow councillors to support the notice of motion. Thank you.
Councillor Disco, further discussion. Councillor Douglas.
I mean, I really do support any motion that helps to deal with the noise and traffic issues on Forest Road because it is horrendous. But I have a question for the General Manager. I mean, a lot of this motion presumes that council in-house have the ability to do some of this assessment, whereas my understanding is with the Bay Street trial and the San Susi trial that work has been done by the Environmental Protection Agency and the state authority. So I wonder whether the wording will stand up given that we don't necessarily have the in-house ability. So, for instance, that point 6, the council requests that council officers investigate the feasibility of implementing a noise camera trial on Forest Road, Bexley. Is it not more that we would request that the EPA investigate that feasibility?
Through the chair, the Bay Street and Wollongong 2 trials of noise cameras that are currently being undertaken are under the auspices of the EPA. So they have decided what infrastructure to trial. They're doing all of the testing. They're aware of, the requirement in terms of background noise versus the noise emitting from a particular vehicle. They're doing all of that very, very thorough testing, and I think it was mentioned earlier tonight about how long that is taking. But it is absolutely the EPA's role to do that, and Council has been advised briefly on occasions about how the trial's going, but we are very much a partner in that in terms of finding or agreeing to locations, but it is absolutely the EPA's project.
I just might suggest that given that it might be best, respectfully, Councillor Discoot, for point 5 onwards to be changed, that Council requests that the Environmental Protection Authority investigates the trial of a noise detection camera on Forest Road and so forth. So at the beginning of point 5, rather than it being left to council officers, the council requests that the Environmental Protection Authority
council
do that
requests,
work.
yeah.
Happy with that?
Yeah.
Great. Make that amendment and make clear that we'll be advocating to them. Councillors, any further discussion? Councillor Barlow.
Just a question, another one I noticed, that I would prefer it to be deferred until we get the results of the trial of cameras we've got now. While we've got, I don't want the staff and everyone to put a lot of work into something. We haven't got a report back from the trial. Councillor Douglas has said she's written to the Minister to ask when this would happen. So I believe I'm going to foreshadow a motion that we actually defer this motion until we get the results so that our council staff are not being put under more pressure to do more work. And we've then got to find, it's a state government. We can't afford to put the camera in. We can't, and you've forgotten Stony Creek Road. And it would be really nice if the Premier and the Minister, the member for Rockdale would just tell the trucks to drive on the M5 and we wouldn't have a problem. The M5 problem there with no one wants to own up to the facts, so the trucks come down because they cannot afford to go through that tunnel. So I'm moving my foreshadow motion will be that this is deferred until we get the results of the cameras, so we know what we're doing or what's happening. If I can get a second.
Councillor Barlow, there is seconded a foreshadow motion. Councillor Saravinovsky. Any further discussion to the motion as put with Councillor Douglas's suggestion, which Councillor Discu has adopted? Right of reply, Councillor Discu.
So could we just simply follow the process we did for Bryden?
Well, I think that's what would be suggested by how your motion now reads.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I'll just like to...
Yep, we've got that. All right.
Sorry, just to rise, I think that you still need to change some of the wording in the next point, though, as well, to make it not that it's on a council staff burden. So...
Well, I think we're just affirming that we're committed to
an
to
advocacy
those things.
perspective and following the...
Yeah, I think that's consistent.
The process that was undertaken for Bay Street.
Yeah, I think it's clear from the motion, particularly with the clarification that it's about advocacy to the EPA, that effectively we're just asking for the same trial that's applied in Wollongong and Bay Street to be and Bayside, because it has moved around, that be applied to Forest Road. All those in favour? All those against? Declare that carried. Item 13.10, Taralba Road, Bryden Le Sands. Moved Councillor Poulos, seconded Councillor Douglas. Councillor Poulos.
So moved, Mr Mayor. I'd like to take this opportunity to acknowledge the residents of Taralba Road who have actively advocated for the safety and traffic calming measures along Taralba Road. In addition, I'd like to thank the Mayor for his assistance and close cooperation with this matter, and I look forward to the outcomes of the traffic study. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Poulos, any further discussion? All those in favour, all those against, declare that carried. We have two items that have been pulled out, proposed to be dealt with in confidential session, item CWA 26.002 and ARAC 25.090. In accordance with section 10A4 of the Local Government Act and Council's Code of Meeting Practice, I invite members of the public to make representations as to whether or not this part of the meeting should be closed to the public to consider the confidential items. Sorry, can I interrupt myself for a moment? Did any councillor have any questions on notice? No. Very good. There being no representations, I move that council closes the meeting to the public for the reasons outlined. Is there a seconder? Seconded Councillor Naji. All those in favour, all those against, declare that carried. I ask the press and public to leave the chamber before we consider the confidential items. I think we just need to close the doors and take ourselves offline. I now call on the General Manager to announce the resolutions carried in the closed session.
Through the chair, I can confirm that both matters, in regard to both of them, that the motions were passed as printed on the business paper.
Thank you, General Manager. There being no further items on the agenda this evening, I declare this meeting of Bayside Council closed at 9:29 p.m.